Let's dive into today's story. It's about my wife who was unfaithful, but I'm still struggling with trust issues. She's likely to contact her affair partner soon, even though we agreed on no contact, which could result in divorce. In short, my wife and I have been together since high school over 30 years ago. We have 2 teenage children, and she has been a stay-at-home mom for most of the last 15 years while I work in a stressful but well-paying job to provide for our family. A few years ago, we experienced the traumatic death of one of our children, and my wife struggled more than I did with the loss. Our marriage deteriorated, and we had a massive drunken argument about 2 years ago, which resulted in a dead bedroom and a lack of communication. I turned to alcohol and became depressed, and my wife had an affair with a married man whom she fell in love with. He ended the affair but remained friends with my wife until I discovered it. When I found out about the affair, I confronted my wife, and she initially denied it, but I eventually got the truth. The affair had started after our argument, and my wife claimed that she still loved me but was no longer in love with me. She recently admitted that she thought I no longer loved her because of the arguments, which wasn't true. I still loved her, but we weren't communicating. After her confession, I took her phone and read all their messages. There were gaps in the chats, probably removed just before her confession, but I had pretty much the full story. I messaged the affair partner from my wife's phone, and he confirmed the affair but had ended it because it was getting too serious for him. He apologized to me and said that he would tell his wife what he had done. I'm now approaching the 1-year anniversary of discovering the affair, and I'm wondering if there's any hope for our marriage. My wife has been love bombing me, but I'm struggling with trust issues. I did not tell him to break off contact because my plan was to install keylogger software on my wife's phone. Bear in mind that we were in the middle of lockdown at this point in time, so there was no way that they could see each other. For the next few weeks, they would message each other. My wife told her affair partner that I knew about them. The affair partner did not tell her that I had messaged him. It was amusing to watch this unfold. They were now having arguments and blaming each other for their affair. My wife, in an attempt to save our marriage or stop me from kicking her out of our house, was love bombing me while at the same time giving her affair partner crap for using her and treating her badly. However, she also said she wished that they could see each other and chat properly about what had happened. She did appear to show remorse for how much her actions had hurt me. She admitted to me that she had been selfish. I asked her if she had ever cheated on me before. She answered that with a subtle difference to the question, that it was her one and only affair. I am now suspicious she had a one-night stand with a former boyfriend many years ago, but I have no proof. She said she had fallen back in love with me because I had changed for the better, but as we all know, actions speak louder than words, and you cannot believe a word that a cheater says. Even at this point, she was still sending messages to him, although they were innocent messages, as they were discussing their hobby, which is where they first met and got to know each other as friends. I phoned a lawyer to discuss my options and see how things would look should we divorce. My wife overheard some of the conversation, and this seemed to wake her up to the reality of the situation. Soon after, my wife sent a final message to the affair partner, telling him that she would not be chatting any longer, and he was not to get in touch with her ever again. Contact between them did stop, and at this point, I gave her some boundaries and the consequences should she break them. One of the rules was no contact or see the affair partner ever again, and if he contacted her, to let me know immediately. I told her if she broke that rule, I would divorce her. She agreed to this. I told her she needed counseling to work on herself and find the reason why she did what she did. She agreed, although she said she felt forced to go, but only went twice and then stopped, telling me she already knows the reasons for her affairs, so it did not need any more counseling. I saw the same counselor a dozen times, and despite client confidentiality, my counselor did tell me my wife was remorseful. This was a few months ago. My wife and I have been getting on better than ever. I do love her, but I have not forgiven her yet. There has been no contact between my wife and her affair partner, but I have reason to believe that may change shortly. Finally, given all that information, the questions I have are: the first, does anyone think my wife has any chance of redeeming herself and remaining faithful to me, or should I run a mile? The second, should she contact her affair partner again, as I suspect she will, even though it will be to chat about something innocent? Should I file for divorce as she will have broken the no-contact rule? The third, if divorce is not the answer, is there anything else she or I should do for a successful reconciliation? Edit for update. I am so grateful for all your replies. This has really helped me. I will try and respond to each one and answer questions. Here's the update. As I suspected, my wayward spouse has contacted her repair partner. She will not face the consequences. I posted my story a couple of weeks ago. I received lots of help, advice, and also some vitriol in the chat function. I read all the replies but could not respond to all of them due to time. I ignored the abuse. There are some strange people out there. No idea what your agenda is, but it's water off a duck's back to me. To recap, the timeline is not exact, but the story is, we've been together for over 30 years. We started dating in high school. 2 years ago, my wife and I were going through a rough patch, and she had an affair. D-Day was 12 months ago, at the start of lockdown. Unbeknownst to my wife, I read some of their messages. It appeared the physical affair was over, but they were still in contact. I later discovered that he had finished the physical affair 7 months prior to D-Day, probably because my wayward spouse had fallen in love with him, and he was never going to leave his wife. She was upset and hurt that he had dumped her, especially as he had told my wife that he loved her. They remained friends and continued to message each other. My wife told him that she could not get him out of her head. Time last year, I had never heard of Reddit. I did not know who to ask for help or advice. I know my methods are a bit messed up, but my cunning plan was to try and get the whole truth about the affair and determine if our marriage could be saved. Not an easy thing to do when you cannot believe a word a cheater says. My wife could not see the affair partner, so I assumed she would contact him using her phone to tell him that I knew about the affair. For the next 6 months, whilst we were supposedly trying to fix things, I could, without my wife's knowledge, see their messages. Some brief highlights are as follows. They lied to each other, and they both blamed each other for the affair. He said their friendship crossed the line, and he regretted what they did. My wife never said she regretted the affair. He cherished their moments together, but also wanted to try and forget it ever happened, an oxymoron. My wife told him that she hated him and that he had used her. He denied this, but other times she said that she missed him, also contradictory. She said that she was broken, and she could not live with the hurt she had caused me, so at times she did display some signs of remorse. On a number of occasions, she said that she would not be able to see him again, and she was not going to contact him ever again. A few days later, she would message him. During these 6 months, I got myself into great physical shape. I had individual counseling. There was hysterical bonding. My wife told me that she had made a huge mistake. She wanted a future with me. I meant the world to her. She had fallen back in love with me. I asked her if she could go back in time and change things, what would she do differently? Her reply was to not let a good friendship turn into an affair and fix things between us before the affair started. 6 months ago, I believed that reconciling with my wife was impossible. I consulted a lawyer to discuss my options, and during the conversation, my wife overheard some of it. Although I am unsure of how much she heard, it served as a wake-up call for her, and she changed her attitude towards our situation. She cut off all contact with her affair partner, and we established boundaries and consequences, with the main one being no contact under any circumstances. She agreed to all my conditions, and for 5 months, we were headed in the right direction. Recently, she learned that her affair partner has an incurable disease through a mutual friend, and she has betrayed my trust by contacting him again. Although the messages were initially innocent, they eventually turned suggestive. I have given up on our relationship, and I plan on speaking with a lawyer again to initiate a divorce. I hope to obtain joint custody over our children, and I am also hoping to get more than a 50-50th split of our assets. I am concerned about my soon-to-be ex-wife getting her hands on my inheritance, Bitcoin investment, and pension pot. Our children are unaware of their mother's adultery, but we will need to tell them soon. We are considering a trial separation, and if it goes ahead, I will set conditions such as staying away from her affair partner. Lastly, I asked my wife about the park where she and her affair partner had met, and she described it as fumbling. I have taken the text you provided and made it more readable below. I suppose I have a few more questions for myself, as this was a bit bizarre. Then I asked, "Did you give him oral sex?" She proceeded to start waffling on about her counselor telling her that it's not a good idea to talk about the sexual side of things. So, the answer is yes then? Where did he finish? He didn't. And apparently, neither did she. He did not give her oral either. In conclusion, that is a lot of time spent fumbling with no end result. Edit, a quick update on the fumbling episode. I decided to question her further due to her version being a bit strange. I said, all I want is the truth and how I'm supposed to believe anything she says when she continues to lie to me. She has told me they did not have oral. They tried to have full intercourse, but on this occasion, he had trouble getting it up. I do actually believe her now, but why would she not say this? Could she have been saving his embarrassment? I still think she would have tried some oral to get him ready. So the story has changed to over an hour of trying to get him up and not achieving much. She admitted that he didn't have any ED at the other parks, so maybe this park was not to his liking.